cyanobacteria, I'll go through the slides once. Okay, I hope you all remember this, whatever was taken in the last semester. We'll revise cyanobacteria once. Anybody remembers cyanobacteria? What was it? Can anybody tell me? Just text Hafsa. I want the answer from you. What was cyanobacteria? Naveshri, what was cyanobacteria? Yes, they are the blue-green algae. Okay, one of the first species found on Earth. I hope you all can view the slides. Okay. I guess you all remember this. We have done this cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, the first algae found. Okay, and over 3.5 billion years ago, they are very old. Then multicellularity, okay, so dominated as biogenic reefs, and cyanobacteria were the first algae. Okay, they come under division Cyanophyta, formerly known as blue-green algae. Cyano means blue. Okay, the name comes cyanobacteria. The term comes as blue-green algae. So cyano means blue, and then bacteria. So green because they are capable of doing photosynthesis. Okay, green because they are capable of doing photosynthesis and they have the chloroplast. Okay, and this is the classification. We have done the classification part also. So under these, they have been divided into prokaryotes, eukaryotes. Okay, under prokaryotes, it is bacteria and archaebacteria. Under eukaryotes, you have animalia, fungi, green plants, and red algae. Okay. Then under the prokaryotes, we are studying cyanobacteria today. So anybody feels that I'm going fast can just put a message. Okay, you just tell me if I'm going fast because I'm repeating the slides. We have already done these. Just tell me if you want to repeat. You want me to go back again. So they are microscopic organisms found in marine sediments and pelagic freshwater lakes, soils, etc. They live in extreme environments, chemically and temperature-wise. Okay, so they survive in the tough conditions. They live in extreme environments, and not as tough as your with archaebacteria. Okay, archaebacteria are those which survive in high temperatures, high salt conditions, and all those. But this is they survive in extreme environmental conditions. So they're the first organisms to have two photosystems and produce organic material. Okay, very important to the evolution of Earth. I told you all these are the first organisms found on Earth. So they're very important in the evolution factor also occurred. Then they fix and convert atmospheric nitrogen into usable form. I told you all. So through nitrogen fixation when other forms are unavailable. So these play an important role in nitrogen fixation also. Important because atmospheric nitrogen is unavailable to most of the living organisms. Now these cyanobacteria, they convert the atmospheric nitrogen into a usable form. Hafsa, I hope you're understanding. If
Yes, ma'am.
not, tell me. So pigments. What are the pigments which are present in cyanobacteria? They have phycoerythrin, they have phycocyanin, they have allophycocyanin, and storage is storage pigments glycogen. Okay, storage is by glycogen. Cell walls are amino acids and sugars. So cell walls are made up of amino acids and sugars. Okay. So remember the pigments which they have, that is phycoerythrin, phycocyanin, and allophycocyanin. Then forms, okay, it is unicellular with mucilaginous envelope. Okay, So it has an envelope and it is filamentous. You can see this uniserrate in a single row or multiserrate. Not true branching. So they do not truly branch. So they are uniserrate. They are single and they are, or they can be multiserrate also. Okay, so this is a multiserrate one. Hmm? And this has a mucilaginous envelope. You can see the cursor moving. I'm showing you all. It has a mucilaginous envelope. Okay. Now this is the mucilaginous sheath, trichome rose filament. Someone is trying to enter. Muzammil. Okay. So this is the filament and these are called as the trichomes. Row of cells, they are called as trichomes. Muzammil, we are doing cyanobacteria first and then we'll be going to proteobacteria. Okay. I'm going through the slides so that it is a revision for you all. My mucilaginous sheath, layer of mucilage wall. Okay. So this is about the structure of cyanobacteria. See, sheath is often colored like it is acidic, basic, and high salt. So it can be sheath function protects cells from drying and involved in gliding. So this mucilaginous sheath, okay, the outer mucilaginous cover or envelope of cyanobacteria is it helps the cells from drying. Okay, it helps the cells from drying under extreme conditions, and also it helps the cells in gliding. Gliding is what? Movement. Okay, gliding means movement of the cell. So it helps in gliding. Sheath is often colored. Okay, it can be acidic, basic, or high in salt. Now, heterocyst. You have done this diagram in 12th, I think. So this is about the heterocyst. It is a thick-walled cell, hollow-looking, larger than vegetative cells. Okay. Function provides the anaerobic environment for nitrogen fixation. So what is the function of this heterocyst? It provides an anaerobic environment for nitrogen fixation. Okay. As I told you, cyanobacteria, they help in nitrogen fixation. They convert the atmospheric nitrogen into a usable form. So this heterocyst, they play an important role in nitrogen fixation. Okay. So this is the microscopic view. If you see, that was the diagrammatic one. The structure which I showed you before was a diagram. This is the microscopic view. It is like this. If you have drawn cyanobacteria in your records, it will be like this, and the heterocyst in between, okay, which plays a role for nitrogen fixation. These are the vegetative cells. This is a diagram of Anabaena, one of the cyanobacteria. Now, habitat is due to ability to tolerate wide range of conditions. Okay, it has an ability to tolerate wide range of conditions. So, it can be present in marine water, which is salty. It can be present in fresh waters. It can be present in hot springs and terrestrial soil flora also. Okay, so it can be present in a wide range of places. Now about the heterocyst, they are larger than the vegetative cells. Okay, you saw the diagram just now. That heterocyst in the center is larger than the vegetative cells. It's hollow looking, thick walled, doesn't allow atmospheric gas to enter. Okay, so that doesn't allow the atmospheric gas to enter inside. Photosynthetically, it is inactive. Oh, no carbon dioxide fixation, only O2 evolution. Okay, so this heterocysts, they do not play role in photosynthesis. It is the vegetative cells which play a role in photosynthesis. This heterocyst, they plays role in nitrogen fixation. Formation of heterocysts triggered by molybdenum and low by nitrogen. Okay, so this formation of heterocyst is triggered by molybdenum. And it lowers by the nitrogen fixation when it takes place. Is limiting nutrient necessary for production of amino acids and building blocks. So this is the importance of nitrogen. It is an essential nutrient. Okay. for production of amino acids and for building the blocks, building blocks, because amino acids are known as building blocks of life. Okay, your DNA is also made up of amino acids, so amino acids are known as building blocks of your life. Nitrogen fixation. Only cyanobacteria and prokaryotic bacteria can fix nitrogen. If you will have studied about nitrogen fixation, you will be having an idea. So, only the cyanobacteria and prokaryotic bacteria are capable of fixing atmospheric nitrogen. Of these two, only cyanobacteria evolve oxygen during photosynthesis. Okay, so cyanobacteria also evolve oxygen during photosynthesis. Important because nitrogenase is inactivated by oxygen. Okay, so nitrogenase, it is an enzyme involved in nitrogen fixing. Okay, it is an enzyme. Nitrogenase is an enzyme which is involved during nitrogen fixation, and is inactivated by O2. Mechanism to separate nitrogenase from oxygen. Okay, so that is by heterocysts, and they affix nitrogen in the dark but not light found in non-heterocyst cyanobacteria. Okay, so it is a temporal phase, and this is how it takes place. For electrons for photosystem 1 come from photosystem 2, which evolves oxygen. You would have done this equation for photosynthesis. Hmm? However, all these do not come into your cyanobacteria. You have to study about cyanobacteria and the functions of cyanobacteria and how it has evolved metabolically, and what is the role, okay, in atmosphere, what is the role of cyanobacteria, the classification of cyanobacteria, how it has come up. Okay, now this is the anaerobic in the presence of sulfur. So when in the presence of sulfur they become anaerobic. So this is H2S plus carbon dioxide. Hmm? H2S is the electron donor, so the reaction does not produce oxygen. Okay, as the process is anaerobic one. Anaerobic and aerobic both go on. So advantage for cyanobacteria, they can live in fluctuating environments of aerobic and anaerobic with light present. Hmm? Cyanotoxins in cyanobacteria. So there are some toxins also in cyanobacteria. They are neurotoxins and hepatotoxins. Okay, cyanobacteria also have few toxins called as neurotoxins and hepatotoxins. Now, what do neurotoxins do? They block the neuron transmission in muscles. Okay, the neurotoxins in cyanobacteria, they block the neuron transmission in muscles. And hepatotoxins, they inhibit protein phosphatase, cause liver bleeding, found in drinking water. Okay, so mostly drinking water, if it is contaminated with Anabena oscillatoria or nostoc, okay, uh, places where water is not clean, drinking water sources are not clean. Sometimes people take water from rivers or freshwater lakes. Okay, and sometimes your groundwater also gets polluted, drinking water gets polluted. So this is how these organisms tend to enter into the water stream, blood water stream, and then they enter your body. So when they enter your body, they have neurotoxins and hepatotoxins. Neurotoxins block neuron transmission, and hepatotoxins, they inhibit protein phosphatase, cause liver bleeding. It is swimmer's itch, lignbia. Who is trying to enter now? So late. If you all come late in between the class, I have to go back and then permit you all. Hmm? I wait for 5 minutes. I already wait. Others who come on time, they are also waiting because I am waiting for others to join. I already wait for 5 minutes. Then after 10 minutes only, I started the PPT. At 1:40, I started the PPT after waiting for you all. Now it's nearing 2 o'clock. If you all try to enter at this time, I have to come back. I lose my link also. Hmm? In between, I have to come to the screen. Are you all understanding? Navya, Hafsa, please put a chat message. I cannot hear you all. Naveen, okay. I'm going fast because we have already done this. You all remember we have done this first year semester. Can you all recollect? Hmm? I hope you all remember. Gautam, same thing we have done before. Okay. So we'll just finish this and start proteobacteria. Okay. So because when the water gets contaminated, it affects your health, and also like swimming pools, if they are contaminated with cyanobacteria, anabena, or anything, then you have the swimmer's itch, okay, caused by Ligbia, organism name. Okay. Now they do not have flagella, okay? Like your other bacteria they have flagella for movement, but these organisms they do not have flagella for movement. That is, they move with the help of the mucilaginous envelope. I told you all in the beginning the structure when I explained the mucilaginous envelope which they have coat covering that helps in movement. Mucilaginous means smooth covering which helps in gliding. Okay, the envelope is slimy and smooth, so it helps in gliding. So excrete, mucilage, jet propulsion and gliding. Helix fibers send waves of contraction. Okay, so these fibers present here, they send waves of contraction. So spirulina is an example of this hmm, gliding movement. You'll have heard about spirulina. Filamentous, common in lakes with high pH, major food for flamingo populations, commercial food source. Spirulina, you have heard, no? It is used as a food source. Okay, it comes under bacteria. They eat for protein content also. Hmm? So spirulina is one of those commercial foods which is consumed. Then this is Anabena, common bloom forming species with nutrient loads. Okay. This is Ligbia, release chemicals causing dermatitis. Okay, dermatitis means skin disease. Dermatitis means skin diseases. So this organism, when in water, it releases chemicals which cause skin diseases. That's why I told you in swimming pools or waters where people swim or rivers also, this organism Ligbia, if it is there, it releases chemicals which will cause itching and dermatitis. Called as dermatitis is nothing but skin disease. Okay. Reproduction is asexual. Homorgonia formation, endospore formation, fragmentation, and exospore. This is how it is. Hormogonia, short piece of trichome found in filaments. It detaches from parent filament and glides away. Okay. So this short piece of parent filament which glides away is called as homorgonia. Hmm? So it detaches from the parent and glides away. You can see this. This is the parent. Okay, short. Then from here, a small piece of trichome. These cells are called as trichome. I told you all. So these short piece of trichome, it moves apart from the parent cell and glides away. Okay, this is called as homogonia. This is oscillatoria. I think you have seen this microscopic view of nostoc. You have seen oscillatoria also is there in lab. Then short pieces of trichome that become detached from the parent filament and glide away to form new filament. Okay, so you can see here there are a few segments which move away. Here you can see this one. You can see my cursor moving over here. So this is a part of the trichome which has moved away and it will separate now from the parent cell. Okay. this here it shows more clearly. It is separating. Asexual reproduction, akinete thick-walled resting spore. So when it forms a thick-walled resting spore, it's called as akinete. This is the heterocyst and it again forms a thick-walled resting spore called as akinete. This is how it looks under the microscope. This is of course an electron microscope view, or else this cannot be viewed. It is an electron microscope view. Okay. So this spore, it helps in, it gives resistance under unfavorable conditions. Okay, you all know by now that wherever it is a spore, the coating is very thick. The spore coat becomes very thick and it provides protection against unfavorable environmental conditions. Okay, appear as larger cells in the chain and different than heterocyst, generally lose buoyancy. Okay, so these cells are larger than the heterocyst. Okay, the small one is the heterocyst, I've shown you before also. These larger ones, okay, they appear as larger cells in chain and different than heterocyst. Okay, now this is how it is by fragmentation. There it was what, homogonia. The separation of a part, a sexual reproduction by homogonia. This was reproduction by hormogonia formation. So hormogonia. Then this is reproduction by fragmentation. Okay, where it gets divided into two fragments. Then they are the oldest fossils, as I told you all. 3.5 by old carbonaceous microfossils in South Africa, and 3.4 billion old filaments and microbial fossils in West Australia, 3.4 billion old stromatolites in South Africa and Australia. So these are one of the very oldest fossil remains found on Earth and first algae to be found on Earth. So this is the picture. It shows the stromatolites. It's a picture of West Australia, Shark Bay. So this is the cyanobacteria on these rocks. You can see this blue-green color. Okay, these greenish ones are all cyanobacteria. Okay. I hope everything is clear of cyanobacteria. If this is okay, I'll go to proteobacteria. Is it okay? Shall I go to proteobacteria? Okay. Hafsa, cyanobacteria clear? Hafsa? Okay. So we'll be starting with proteobacteria. Any idea about proteobacteria? I have taught you this in first sem. This also, not in detail. Okay, it was not in detail, but I have told you all what is proteobacteria. Proteobacteria, they come under gram-negative bacteria, okay, and they cover a large range of bacteria like E. coli, Salmonella, Vibrio. They include a large range of bacteria. So this is the kingdom. Okay, it has Chlorophyceae, it has Proteobacteria, Spirochates, Cyanobacteria, Endospora, Actinobacteria. Okay, Out of this, the group which you are doing today is proteobacteria. Mostly the gram-negative ones and come under this pathogenic bacteria. Okay, pathogenic gram-negatives come under this proteobacteria. So these are the others. This is cyanobacteria we have just done, spirochetes and chloroflexi. We will be going ahead with proteobacteria. So we have, when we studied classification also, we have done this. The phylogenetic tree we have studied, where it covers the bacteria, archaebacteria and eukaryotes. Okay, so under eukaryotes you have animal, fungi, plants, ciliates, flagellates, trichomonads, etc. And the archaebacteria, I have taught you archaebacteria. It covers all the methanobacterias and thermoproteus, and halophils. Okay, thermoproteus, I told you, high temperatures. Methanogens, they produce methane. Then halophiles, they survive in salty conditions. So that was under archaebacteria, and here under bacteria you have the green filamentous bacteria, you have spirochetes, proteobacteria, cyanobacteria, Lactomyces, bacteroids, and Thermatoga aquifix. Okay, so these are the different kinds of bacteria present under this. But what you are dealing today is proteobacteria. Proteobacteria. So this includes mostly the gram-negative pathogenic bacteria. You have to study the gram-negative pathogenic bacteria under proteobacteria. So they are the major group, include E. coli, Salmonella, Vibrio, Heliobacter, and many other notable genera. So all these come under the group Proteobacteria. E. coli you have studied, you remember. Salmonella also you have heard. Vibrio cholerae, responsible for cholera, you have heard this. Then Helicobacter. All these are common pathogenic organisms. All they come under Proteobacteria. Proteobacteria gram-negative with an outer membrane, mainly composed of lipopolysaccharides. Okay, when we have done the cell wall of bacteria, I have explained you about gram-positive and gram-negative cell walls. So gram-positive negatives, they have more amount of lipopolysaccharides. Explain this. They move about using flagella, but some are non-motile. Okay, so out of these range of bacteria, generally they move with flagella. We know motility is with the help of flagella, but some are non-motile also. And they also include myxobacteria. This group also includes myxobacteria. So many different shapes to reflect the enormous diversity of morphologies. So all the bacteria which are present under the group Proteobacteria, they have different shapes. Okay, and different shapes, they show the diversity of morphologies. Diversity, you have studied biodiversity. You have been studying biodiversity, so you know biodiversity is the vast spread range of organisms. So here it is, they differ from each other with different morphologies. Okay, the proteobacteria consist of more than 460 genera and more than 1600 species. Okay, scattered over 5 major phylogenetic lines. Okay, so these include, the different classes are alpha proteobacteria, beta proteobacteria, gamma proteobacteria, and delta proteobacteria. Okay, so you have to remember that proteobacteria have been classified into alpha proteobacteria, beta proteobacteria, gamma proteobacteria, and delta proteobacteria. Okay. Now habitat, where are they found? Proteobacteria, they are found in different habitats, from plant roots, inside the cells of a host, and as free living bacteria. So when you have studied E. coli, Salmonella, Vibrio, now if someone asks you where do you find this? Okay, if someone asks you where do you find this, it is like everywhere. E. coli, Salmonella, Vibrio, all these are present everywhere. So it ranges from plant roots to the plant to the host cells, and it can be anywhere as free living bacteria in the environment. Okay, so that's finally they are free living bacteria in the environment. They can be anywhere and everywhere. Found in virtually any environment across the globe. So as I told you, it is present in any environment anywhere, because organisms are there everywhere. Some of the species in the phyla can survive extreme environments with very little or no oxygen. Hmm? So, out of these cyanobacteria, there are a few species which can survive in extreme environments with very little or no oxygen. Diversity of morphological and physical, like it can be rod shaped, it can be cocci. I have explained you different shapes of bacteria, no? We have studied the different shapes of bacteria. So it can be rods, it can be cocci, it can be curved. If it's Vibrio cholerae, it is comma shaped. If it is rod shaped, it can be cocci, it can be ring shaped. Filamentous sheath bacteria. Now, examples are Proteobacteria are mesophilic, but some are thermophilic. So, some can be thermophilic also. An example of thermophilic is Theomonas thermosulfate, and Psychodrophil, that is an example of Polaromonas. Representatives while being have been described. So, these are the different examples of Proteobacteria. Okay. As I told you, they display gliding movement, motility by gliding movement, and show high complex development lifestyles, whereby often remarkable multicellular and microscopic structures are formed. Okay, so they are capable of forming multicellular and microscopic structures. Okay. Most are free living. Some can be symbiotic with, like if they are nitrogen fixing bacteria, where they fix nitrogen, they can be symbiotic. Okay, so mostly they come under free living, but some, if they are nitrogen fixing bacteria, they live in symbiotic association with leguminous plants. Okay, others live as intracellular endosymbionts of protozoa and invertebrates. So in few cases, the organisms, they live inside the cells, as endosymbionts. So examples here are mussels, insects, and nematodes. Whereas the rickettsia are obligate intracellular parasites of humans or mammals. Okay, so when it is rickettsia, they are obligate intracellular parasites of humans or mammals. And they have extreme diversity of energy generation. Now, as this proteobacteria, it includes a wide range of organisms. Okay, it's not one or two. It includes a wide range of organisms, pathogenic organisms. So, the functions also are wide range. Okay, so the diversity is also wide range. The energy generating mechanism is unique biochemical characteristics of proteobacteria. Okay, so energy generating mechanism is a unique characteristic of proteobacteria. Hmm? Examples are chemoorganotrophs, that is E. coli. E. coli is a chemoorganotroph. Then chemolithotroph. We have discussed all this, okay? Organotrophs, chemoorganotrophs in the previous classes. Cannot repeat those again. Then sulfur oxidizing bacteria such as thiobacilli and ammonia oxidizing bacteria such as nitrosomonas. Okay, these are just the examples of organisms. Are you all understanding? I'm not able to hear you all. That is the problem. There's some problem with my system. Are you all understanding? Navya, Stotra is there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Stotra is there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Muzammil, are you understanding? Okay. Any doubts, just put in the chat box. Huh? I'm not able to hear you all. Okay. So Denitrify. Okay, this is their relationship towards oxygen. I think I finished this slide. This is clear. I have finished this slide. So these are the different types concerning the relationship of oxygen. The proteobacteria include strictly aerobic and anaerobic species. Okay, so depending upon their oxygen use, they are classified into aerobic and anaerobic species, as well as facultative. Okay, so facultative, you all know facultative means both. Okay, denitrifiers are reported among them are alpha proteobacteria, beta proteobacteria, gamma proteobacteria, and epsilon proteobacteria. These are the different groups, okay, which come under denitrifying bacteria. So types. I told you they cover a wide range of organisms. Okay, so try understand what I'm talking is proteobacteria. It includes wide range of pathogenic organisms. Okay, under this you have the purple phototrophic bacteria. You have the nitrifying bacteria. You have sulfur and iron oxidizing bacteria. You have hydrogen oxidizing bacteria. You have methanotrophs. You have acetic acid bacteria. You have bioluminescent and related bacteria. So you can imagine the range of bacteria which they cover. Okay, these are just the names, and under these you have so many. So it can nitrifying bacteria, it can be sulfur iron oxidizing. So the whole group of organisms, pathogenic organisms which are gram negative, come under this. Hmm? Can be hydrogen oxidizing bacteria, it can be methanotrophs, it can be acetic acid bacteria which they produce acetic acid, okay, and bioluminescent and related bacteria. Okay, now classification, you have done this. Whichever are the common slides, I will just go through. So Calvo's classification we have done. So that was in 1987, where proteobacteria were divided into 6 sections. Okay, it's divided proteobacteria into 6 groups. So it had alpha, beta, delta, epsilon sections are monophyletic. The proteobacteria divided into 6 sections by Greek letters. Okay, through alpha through zeta. Here it was. You can see this alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, and zeta. So there are the 6 sections. Proteobacteria, this you remember. I'll tell you what are the things you need to remember. You need to remember that they are divided into 6 sections. Okay, which 6? Alpha, beta, gamma, then delta, epsilon, and zeta. You can remember like this. Okay, you can remember them like alpha, beta, gamma, then delta, epsilon, and zeta. Okay, so those are the 6 groups of proteobacteria. They also called that purple bacteria. They were also called as purple bacteria. Great diversity of forms found in this group. Proteobacteria are named after Proteus. Okay, it's called Proteo after the Greek god Proteus, capable of assuming many different shapes, and it is therefore not named after the genus Proteus. Okay, so it has many different shapes, many groups. As I told you, we have seen so many groups. No, these are the different types. So you can imagine the shapes, how varying are the shapes. These are also the different sections classified into alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta. So generally, so obviously the shape will also change. Okay. And coming to alpha bacteria, okay, they have oligotrophic proteobacteria capable of growing at low nutrients. Now we have to study about alpha, study about beta, gamma, epsilon, delta, zeta. So these first one alpha, they are oligotrophic. Some have unusual metabolic modes such as metallotrophy. Some are chemolithotrophs. Some fix nitrogen. Members of genera such as Rickettsia and Brucella are important pathogens. Many genera are characterized by distinctive morphology such as Prosthecia. This is the different characteristics of alpha proteobacteria. These are the different organisms which come under alpha proteobacteria. Okay, agrobacterium, calobacterium, Colobacterium, sorry, CAULO, it is CAULO, okay, Colobacter. Then Hypobacterium, Nitrobacter, Rhizobium, Rhodospirillum, and Rickettsia. These are all the different groups under alpha proteobacteria. Okay, these are a few images. Prostheca, this is the image of prostheca, is an extension of the cell, including the plasma membrane and cell wall, that is narrower than the mature cell. A stalk is non-living appendage produced by the cell. So these are the stalks you can see. These are the non-living appendage produced by the cell and extending from it. Budding is distinctly different from the binary fission normally used by bacteria. So bacteria generally reproduce by binary fission. Okay, bacteria it is binary fission, but here it is budding. Okay, in case of proteobacteria, it is budding, which is different from the binary fission. Okay, then the before one was this. This is purple non-sulfur bacteria. I hope this is clear. Now you're doing purple sulfur bacteria. Do you all have any class after this? Any class you all have after this? Shall I continue? Or you all have genetics at 2:30? What time? It is generally genetics, no, at 2:30. Navya, Hafsa, you all have any class? What about others? Genetics class नहीं है तो your Hindi madam is taking, Hindi sir or madam whatever. They have scheduled, 2:30 class is scheduled. If not, I'll continue. Okay, 5 minutes silent. 5 minutes. I'm just asking, do you have any class? 5 minutes because I'm continuing for 5 minutes, no? Okay, I don't know. Whoever has Hindi class can leave. I'll just finish with proteobacteria in 5 minutes. Anybody having Hindi class can go, but I'll complete in 5 minutes proteobacteria. For a small topic, we need not extend till next class. No, next class next week. This will finish in 5-10 minutes. Okay. Okay. So this is purple non-sulfur bacteria. Non-oxygenic photosynthesis causes bacteria chlorophylls A or B, and all purple non-sulfur bacteria are proteobacteria. Exception is Rhodocyclus. Now, what do they do? They trap light energy and employ organic molecules as both electron and carbon sources. Non-sulfur bacteria do not oxidize elemental sulfur to sulfate. So what do? They trap the light energy and employ organic molecules as both electron and carbon sources. And non-sulfur bacteria do not oxidize elemental sulfur to sulfate. Okay. During absence of light, devoid color grow like the absence of light means there is, devoid means it is not there. They grow like chemoorganotrophs. So when there is absence of light, they grow as chemoorganotrophs. Okay, these are the images: Rhodospirillum, Vibrium, Rhodocyclus, Rhodomicrobium, Rhodosudomonas. Okay, so these are the electron microscopic images. Under your normal microscope, if you see, it will not be like this. This is electron microscopic images. Rhodospirillum, Rhodomicrobium, Rhodocyclus, and Rhodosudomonas. Then purple sulfur non-sulfur bacteria. Purple non-sulfur bacteria. Okay. They are prevalent in mud and water of lakes and ponds with abundant organic matter and low sulfide levels. Okay, so wherever they are low sulfur levels, as they are what, they are purple non-sulfur bacteria. The non-sulfur bacteria, so low sulfur levels, sulfide levels. Family Rhodospirulaceae. Okay, so Rhodospirillum and Azospirillum under this under Rhodospirulaceae. What do? They have cyst formation. Why is cyst? Cyst, you'll remember, heterocyst, again the same thing. It protects cell from desiccation. Okay, desiccation is when there is no water. Okay, that is desiccation. In that state, it protects the cell. Then less protective against UV and heat, made in response to nutrient limitations. Then Rickettsia and Coxiella. You would have heard about Rickettsia. It causes rickettsia. Is a pathogenic organism. I think I have done this also in first semester. Rickettsia also I have taken. Okay. So these bacteria are rod-shaped, cocoid, or pleomorphic. Although their size varies, they tend to. So proteobacteria is nothing but you're studying all the organisms in it. Okay, proteobacteria is a group which covers a wide range of pathogenic organisms, and all pathogenic organisms mostly we have covered. So you, that is the, it is a group covering all the pathogenic gram-negative organisms. So that is what we are doing today under proteobacteria. This repetition of all those. So rod-shaped, cocoid, nor pleomorphic with typical gram-negative walls and no flagella. Although their size varies, they tend to be very small. Okay, this is the size range. They are parasitic. Erythrocytes, macrophages, and vascular endothelial cells. They grow in vertebrate organisms. Okay, they grow in vertebrates. Often they also live in blood-sucking arthropods such as fleas, ticks, mites, or lice, which serve as vectors or primary hosts. We have done this when we have studied rickettsia. Okay, rickettsia causes rickets. I hope you'll remember we have done this, spread through fleas, ticks, mites, or lice. They survive as parasites in hosts. Okay, they live in blood-sucking arthropods. This order contains many important pathogens. These are the different types. We have studied this: typhus fever, Rocky Mountain fever, spotted fever, everything. We have done all this. Okay. These are the different diagrams of Rickettsia and Coxiella. Now, under the Colobacteriaceae and Hyphomicrobiaceae. Okay. So these are can have at least one of the three different features like prostheca, a stalk, or reproduction by budding. So you can see this. It has a stalk, and it also has reproduction by budding. Okay. Genus Hyphomicrobium contains chemoheterotrophic aerobic budding bacteria. You have to remember, okay, these names like hyphomicrobium. What is Colibacteriaceae? Okay, Colibacteriaceae, they have prostheca, a stalk, and reproduction by budding. Hyphomicrobium, they contain chemoheterotrophic aerobic budding bacteria that frequently attach to solid objects. Okay, they will get attached to objects in water or terrestrial environment. Hmm? Okay. So this is how it takes place through budding. You can see this hyphae formation, new nucleate moving into hyphae, young bud, and the separation of the bud. Hmm? Life cycle of hyphomicrobium. This is again the cycle showing you the generation, budding, and all. I hope Hafsa is understanding. Okay, this is the one. Then there is division to produce stalk, cell, and swimmer. Hmm? Then here it separates. Then after 120 minutes, there is a division again, producing a stalk and a swimmer. Okay, so this is how the cycle goes on. Okay, then Colobacter possesses a prostheca and hold fast. This is also one more group of bacteria. I don't want you all to get confused into too many things. This is the life cycle. You just have to remember few important ones. Okay, you only have to remember few important ones. Don't get worried with these names and organisms. Hmm? Important ones which are mentioned in the book, you remember those. Okay, Agrobacterium you have heard, Rhizobiaceae you have heard. Those are the important ones. Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Hmm? Well, that is what I'm trying to tell you all. Proteobacteria is a range, it covers a range of pathogenic gram negative bacteria. Okay, so out of this, you have to remember the important ones: nitrifying bacteria, agrobacterium. Hmm? So these are the different alpha proteobacteria. I have finished this. Are you understanding? Are you all understanding, Hafsa? Hafsa, are you understanding? Okay. Whoever has Hindi class can go. I'll just finish in 5 minutes proteobacteria. Few slides are left. We'll just go through that. Okay, the next group is Magnetococcus marinus. It has the ability to form a structure called magnetosome. Okay, so this is the electron microscopic view where you can see magnetosomes, a membrane encased single magnetic domain. Okay, it has a mineral cyst crystals formed by biomineralization, allows the cells to orientate along the Earth's geomagnetic field. You understand? So they have a magnetic membrane. They have a single magnetic membrane which allow the cells to orientate along the Earth's geomagnetic field. Okay, so they play an important role according to the magnetic field of the Earth. Okay. Magnetotactic bacteria are a phyllophyletic group of bacteria described by Richard Blakemore. Okay, so phenomena of micro tending to move in response to environment's magnetic characteristics. So these you would have not heard about this magnetobacteria. Okay, so these are those which move in response to the environment's magnetic characteristics. Okay, so they have the property of moving according to the environment's magnetic characteristics. So they are known as magnetotaxics. Okay, magnetotaxis. As I told you, they have a membrane. Okay, they have a single magnetic membrane. So that is why they can move according to the Earth's magnetic environment. Hmm? So he realized that these microorganisms were following the direction of Earth's magnetic field from south to north, and thus coined the term magnetotactic. Okay, so they move according to directions. Like other bacteria, they do not have any specific directions; they just move. Okay, but these magnetotactic bacteria, you have to remember this. You have maybe hearing this for the first time. So they move according to the Earth's magnetic field. Okay, because of their membrane which is magnetic. So divided into two categories, whether they produce particles of magnetite or gregite. So depending upon these, they are divided. So they are able to survive only in environments with limited oxygen, and some can exist only in completely anaerobic environments. Okay. Some types of magnetotactic bacteria can produce magnetite even in anaerobic conditions, using nitric oxide, nitrate, or sulfate as a final receptor. The gregite mineralizing magnetotactics are usually strictly anaerobic. Okay, so these are mostly anaerobic. So they evolved in the early Proterozoic era. These magnetobacteria, they evolved in the early Proterozoic era. I hope it is clear. Magnetobacteria is clear. This was the new one which you have not done. Magnetobacteria, that is also called as magnetotactic. Okay, magnetotactic because of the magnetic membrane. Hmm? Then rickettsias you have done. So I will not repeat this. Rickettsias you have already done. Hmm? Then Plaguebacterials. Okay, it was first placed under rickettsial. So this is also a part of rickettsias. Okay. So as I told you all, you have to cover the major pathogenic gram-negative bacteria under this, under proteobacteria. It covers the major gram-negative pathogenic bacteria. So you have to write about those major ones only and remember the major ones. I'm just going through the slides so that you can recollect. Okay, Rickettsiaceae and Coxiella. Then purple non-sulfur bacteria. Hmm? You have the six different groups, proteobacteria divided into six different groups. What are they? They are alpha proteobacteria, beta proteobacteria, gamma proteobacteria, then delta, zeta, and which is the one? Delta, zeta, and epsilon proteobacteria. Okay. So these are the six major groups under sections under which proteobacteria are divided. Okay. You have to remember these names, types of organisms they cover. They cover purple photobacteria, nitrifying bacteria, sulfur, iron oxidizing bacteria, hydrogen oxidizing bacteria, methanotrophs, acetic acid bacteria, and bioluminescent related bacteria. Okay, so these all these come under proteobacteria. So you can imagine the wide range it covers. Okay. So as they are so it's such a big range, it can be present anywhere. Can be present anywhere in the environment. They are as free living bacteria in the environment. Okay. Today we have done cyanobacteria and proteobacteria. See these E. coli, Salmonella, Vibrio, Helicobacter, and many others which I have discussed through the PPT. All these come under the proteobacteria. I hope everything is clear about proteobacteria and cyanobacteria. Amarnath, did you understand? Amarnath, please reply in the chat box. Nizamuddin, did you understand? Nizamuddin, Anjali, Anjali. Okay. So I think everything is clear about cyanobacteria and proteobacteria. The next class we'll continue with the next topic. Okay. So thank you all of you. I'll end the class. Thank you. Thank you.